Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Getting Started with Yulio webinar, and thank you so much for joining me. My name is Nicole. I'm one of the client success specialists here at Yulio, and I'll be hosting today's session. The main objective of today's webinar is to provide a high-level overview of the Yulio platform and its key features so that you can leave feeling confident to start creating and presenting your own VR experiences. This training will cover a lot of information, so if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to enter them in the question box and I will answer them during our Q&A period at the end of the session. My contact details are also on the screen now, so if you leave today's session with any questions or if you'd like to follow up with one-on-one training, please feel free to reach out to me. Lastly, if you do have to leave today's session early, I will be recording the full webinar and we'll send that to all registrants a little bit later so you can watch it back anytime and you can share it with your team as well. So here's our agenda for today's webinar. I'm going to start off by going over a few ways that you can create content for your VR project and then follow that with a quick tour of your Yulio account. Next, I'll go over the basics for actually creating your first VR projects, and then I'll wrap up with some different methods for sharing and presenting your projects. And like I said, I'll leave time at the end for a question and answer period. So let's get into it. There's a few different ways that you can create content for virtual reality, including through scenes rendered from CAD programs and even 360 photography. To make integration with Yulio as simple as possible, we created Yulio Jump. Yulio Jump is our cloud-based rendering engine, available through our plugins for Revit, SketchUp, and CET. That being said, Yulio is compatible with any CAD program that can natively produce cube maps. Along with equirectangular images or spherical panoramas. So you don't have to use Yulio Jump to create VR projects in Yulio. So I'm going to start off by briefly going over Yulio Jump. Like I said, Yulio Jump is our rendering engine, which is available through the Yulio plugin for Revit, SketchUp, and CET. It enables you to generate the files needed for virtual reality with only a few clicks, and then sends that content directly to your Yulio account where you can create your immersive VR experience. To give you an example of Yulio Jump's capabilities, I'm going to open up a project in browser mode here. So this project was created in Revit and rendered with Yulio Jump. So with Yulio Jump, you can automatically apply lighting and generate a floor plan and navigation hotspots all during the rendering process. So as we look around here, we'll see some of those navigation hotspots that were generated by Yulio Jump. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to be covering how to actually render with the Yulio plugin today, but I wanted to mention it as I will be referencing it throughout the session. Following the webinar, if you want to start using Yulio Jump, you can visit the CAD plugins page on our website. All of our plugins are free to install and use for anyone with an active Yulio license. So here is the CAD plugins page. So if you go to our website, you can find this page by clicking on the resources tab and then CAD plugins. So when you scroll down, you can download all of our plugins from this page, and you'll also find user guides that you can download for each plugin that includes instructions for setting up and using Yulio Jump. I did also host some webinars in 2025 that cover Yulio Jump for Revit, SketchUp, and CET, and you can find those recordings on our YouTube channel at Yulio VR. So you can just look for the Yulio Jump Week playlist on our channel. Of course, like I said earlier, you can reach out to me anytime if you want to set up a meeting to walk through Yulio Jump together. Now, like I said, you don't have to use Yulio Jump to create VR projects in Yulio. So, for example, if you have a preferred rendering engine that you like to use, you can opt to render your VR scene files using that rendering engine. You'll just have to make sure that those files meet Yulio's upload requirements, which you can find in our knowledge base. So here's an example of a VR project that contains scenes rendered from 3ds Max, but they were uploaded to Yulio to create an immersive VR experience. So again, we have navigation hotspots. These are some enhancement hotspots that you can add in yourself later on. So that was an image, and then here we have an audio hotspot. But we'll explore our projects a little bit more later. Lastly, Yulio Jump is compatible with 360 photography. So if you have a 360 photography camera, once you've taken your photos, you can simply upload them directly to your Yulio account. 360 photography cameras generally shoot in either stereoscopic or monoscopic. Both are compatible for Yulio. However, for a true VR experience, you'll need a stereoscopic photo. All right, now let's move on to a quick tour of your Yulio account now that we kind of went over creating content for VR. So when you first log into your account, you'll be automatically taken to your projects page. This is where all of the projects on your account will be stored. You can also come here to create a new project if you choose to create your project without Yulio Jump. You can always navigate to the project page just by clicking on this projects tab at the top of your page. Next to the projects tab is headsets. This is where you can go to connect one or more headsets to your account. You can also download projects to your headsets from this secondary headset projects tab. You can add up to 20 projects at a time to your headsets. The next tab we have here is Collaborate. Collaborate is our presentation and collaboration tool, and this is where you can go to start a Collaborate session. We'll return to this page a little bit later when I cover sharing and presenting your projects. Next to Collaborate, we have the Resources tab, which includes direct links to the CAD plugins page that I mentioned earlier. You'll also find a link to our knowledge base here, which is a great resource to reference if you have any question about how to use any of Yulio's features. And then the last tab at the top here is where you'll find the email associated with your Yulio account. If you click on the Company Settings tab, this is where account administrators can keep track of views and manage licenses. And from this Custom Branding tab, you can actually add your company logo here, and it will appear every time you enter a project in VR or browser mode. So this is a great way to kind of personalize your VR experiences. Okay, so now that you have a good idea of what you can expect to see when logged into your account, I'm going to go back to the projects page and we'll get into creating and organizing your projects. So, as you start creating with Yulio, all of your projects will be organized into folders along the left side of your screen. You can see I have many different folders here. We have two different types of folders. We have public and private. So you can tell which folders are public because there is a person icon here on the folder. When you log into your account, you should see a folder titled Team, and this folder is public by default, which means that this folder and any of its subfolders are visible to you and anyone else that's a user on your account, if you have an account with multiple seats. The solid black folders are your private folders, which can be helpful if you have more than one team member on your account and you want to protect your projects. These folders are only visible to you and anyone that is listed as an admin on your account. To create a new folder, you'll just click on the Create New Folder button on the left side of your screen. This pop-up will appear here for you to name your folder. And then once you press create, it will be added to the bottom of your list here and created as a private folder. If you want to make your folder public, you can just click and drag it to the top of your list and then drop it as a subfolder under that team folder. If you want to change it back to private, just click again and drag it back down to the bottom of your list. Now let's get into creating our first VR project. So, as I mentioned earlier, there are two ways to go about this. The first and simplest way is with Yulio Jump. So, when you render your projects with Yulio Jump for Revit, SketchUp, or CET, a new Yulio project will be created for you in the cloud and will upload to your Yulio account like this. So, that will look like this office project here. You'll see a thumbnail with the title. The second way to create a VR experience is by rendering your VR scenes with another rendering engine and then coming into Yulio and creating a new project from scratch. To create a new project, you can click on this Create Project button. This will open up a new project for you where you can upload all of your scenes that you rendered, as well as any other content that you want to include. For today's training, we're going to imagine that we rendered with Yulio Jump and our project has just finished uploading. So I'm just going to go back here and I'm going to open this office project. So right now I'm on the project edit page of this project that was designed in CET and rendered with Yulio Jump. As you can see under the scenes tab here, all of my project scenes have been that were captured in CET were processed and uploaded here for VR. This would be the same if I rendered with Yulio Jump for Revit or SketchUp. In order to create a functioning VR project with Yulio, the only content you need to have uploaded are your scenes. Anything beyond that you might have seen in other Yulio projects, such as audio, images, and even a floor plan, those are all optional enhancements. These can make your VR experiences more engaging and easier to navigate, but they're not necessary. So if you take a look at all of these tabs beside my scenes tab, you'll see our enhancement options. So we have audio, images, video, AR, and floor plan. We also have text, but text hotspots are actually created directly within the hotspot editor, which we'll cover another time in a different webinar. When you upload any enhancement assets here, you can incorporate them into your project as interactive hotspots, and your floor plan can be added as an additional navigation tool as well. For the sake of time today, I'm not going to go over uploading and adding all of these enhancement hotspots today. If this is something you're interested in learning more about, I recommend that you join one of our Beyond the Basics webinars where we cover hotspots and the hotspot editor in more detail. And we actually have that webinar coming up in a couple of weeks, so you can stay tuned in your inbox for that. We also have a ton of articles in our knowledge base that cover hotspots. And of course, you can always reach out to me if you have any questions. Now, taking a look under the floor plan and AR or augmented reality tabs, you'll see there is content uploaded under each of these. This is because I use Yulio Jump to render this project. And with Yulio Jump, you have the option in your render settings to add a floor plan and AR models to your project during the rendering process. And that's what I've done here. So that content has been uploaded and added to my project for me. And I'll show you what this looks like later on. Any other enhancements like audio, images, video, and text must always be created and uploaded manually if you want to include them in your project. So as I said, I'm not adding any additional enhancements or enhancement hotspots to my project today. So at this point, my project would be ready to go and I can view it and share it with my clients. There are a couple different ways you can open and view your project, but from this project edit page, you can just click on this button here, and that's our View in 360 button. So this will open your project in browser mode. And browser mode just means that you're viewing the project from your internet browser on a desktop, smartphone, or tablet. So this is what the browser mode experience looks like. And I can use my mouse to just click and drag around the scene. As you can see, my navigation hotspots, which are these white circles here, have been added and placed in my project for me, and I can click on them to move to a new scene. You can also see my AR hotspot here as well, and we'll explore this project more and test out the hotspots during our collaborate session later. For now, I'm just going to exit out of this project. Next, I want to go over some basic tools we have for sharing your projects. So from this page, to open up some of our sharing tools, you can click on the Share tab. Here you'll find the project URL for the specific project that you clicked on. So each Yulio project you create has its own unique URL, and you can copy and share it anywhere you would share a regular URL. Anyone with this link can open and view your full project with or without a Yulio license. On the left side of the URL is a button that allows you to update the scene that your project opens to. So you'll just select this blue share link button and then select choose starting scene. And from here, you can select which scene you'd like your project to open up to from that drop down menu. When you do this, you'll notice the URL will update. When you share the new URL, your viewer will still have access to the full VR experience, but it will open to your selected starting scene. So this is helpful if maybe you've made an update to one specific scene or area in the design, and you want a simple way to show your viewer that area. Now looking to the right side of the URL, we have a few more sharing options. This first icon here opens your project's unique QR code, which you can download and print or share digitally. In an event or show setting, you can even have this code displayed at your booth, and anyone with a smartphone can scan the code and the project will pop up on their phone. You can also share this code via email, and anyone with a MetaQuest Pro 3 or newer can scan the QR code with their headset from the Yulio app and view it immediately. So it's a great way to, this is actually new. We released this feature late last year. So this is a great way to share your projects with your clients and get them into that headset experience as quickly as possible. This next icon we have is for text sharing. So you can enter your client's phone number and share the project to them via text. Here we have the embed project settings. So this allows you to embed your project directly on your website. This is a great feature because you can showcase one or more projects on your company's website and they are fully interactive. To give you an example of what this can look like, I'll open up our VR showcase. So this is a project that we've embedded on our website here. And as you can see, it's essentially that browser mode experience. So your viewer can click and drag around the scene and even move to new scenes, open up the floor plan, and so on. If you do need help embedding your project, we recommend you reach out to your IT or marketing team for support because it can be a little bit tricky if you're not used to dealing with the back end of your website. Okay, we are going to wrap up today's webinar with a mock collaborate session. So, Collaborate is Yulio's most popular tool for presenting your projects to clients and colleagues. When you host a Collaborate session, everyone can meet in the same virtual space, and you can guide viewers around the space, see what others are seeing, and collect feedback. So, we see this feature used for in person and remote meetings, and even at events. With Collaborate, all guests that you're meeting with, whether in person or remote, can join from a VR headset or in browser mode. To launch a Collaborate session, you're just going to click on Collaborate here. and then start collaborating. As a host, you must launch a collaborate session from your browser. So you can't launch a session from within a VR headset. From here, you're just going to select which project you'd like to host your session in. Let me just find it here. Here we go. Something to note here is that if you have a headset connected to your account and you have projects uploaded to your headset's gallery, when you start a collaborate session, the first project in your headset will auto load by default. Uh, if you don't want to have that feature activated, you can come into your collaborate settings and turn off auto load first headset gallery project. So that will enable you to start a collaborate session and choose which project you upload manually. But again, that's only if you have a headset connected to your account and you have projects in that gallery. Oops, don't want to cancel. Okay, so to add guests to your session, you're going to click on this person icon with a plus side on it. That will open our Add Participants tab. If your guests are in a position where they can see the screen we're looking at here, they can scan this QR code on their phone or their MetaQuest headset and join on their mobile device or their headset. They can also join just on their computer from their browser by going to live.yulio.com and entering the unique group code. So I'm going to invite today whoever wants to join this session to join on your mobile device. Or your headset if you have one and you'd like to scan in that way. So you can either scan this QR code with your device's camera or go to live.yulio.com and enter the group code. So today's group code is U63R. So if you've joined on your mobile device, you can look at my screen to see what your perspective will be as the host as you host sessions moving forward. And then you can take a look at your mobile device, and that will be what your guest experience will look like. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I see we have a participant that joined us. So I want to get started by pointing out our latest feature that is now available in Collaborate, and that's our live meeting tool. So we launched this mid to late last year. So, live meeting is an integrated function that allows you to speak to and hear from your guests right within the Collaborate session. So, this means you no longer have to use an external communication or meeting tool to chat with your guests while in Collaborate. What's great about this tool is it works whether your guests are joining from a smartphone, desktop, tablet, or a VR headset. If you're using live meeting, sorry, you'll probably want to turn it on at the beginning of your session. And to turn it on, super simple, you just click on this start chat button and you can start communicating in real time with your clients or colleagues. I'm not going to activate live chat today just because I'm hosting a webinar and it would not work properly. Um, but it is a great tool. We were super excited about it. So I do recommend you try it out moving forward. So let's get started with the session. Looking at my screen, as the host, there's two ways you can present your Collaborate sessions, in present mode and explore mode. By default, Collaborate sessions will open in present mode, and we recommend starting off in this mode because it gives you, as the host, the control to guide your viewers through the experience and direct your viewers' attention to certain areas in a scene. In this mode, only the host has the control to activate hotspots and move to new scenes. Next, we have Explore mode. So to activate this mode, you'll just click on the Explore mode tab. And then in this mode, all guests can explore the project freely, including activating hotspots and navigating to new scenes. While you're in Explore mode, on the host screen, Collaborate will gaze through each guest's view every 10 to 15 seconds so you can see what all your guests are looking at and where they're exploring. To switch back to present mode, you would just click on that present tab. So as we start looking around, an important thing to note that is that while in present mode, your guest screens will not be mirroring your gaze exactly. So if you join the session, you'll notice that we are in the same scene, but as I look around, the view on your phone does not follow. That being said, as the host, I can direct my guest's attention to a certain area at any time using this spotlight button at the top of my screen here. So let's say I wanted to direct your attention over to this AR hotspot. I'll move my gaze to this area and then select that spotlight button. And then if you join the session, you should see that your gaze was redirected to match mine. Now that we're here, I'm going to open up this AR hotspot so we can check it out. So this is what the browser experience looks like when viewing an AR hotspot from your computer. It's pretty limited. All I can do here is click and drag my mouse, and I can view that object in full 360. If your guest has joined the Collaborate session on their computer also, what they can do to view the object in true AR is click on this AR button at the bottom of their screen, and they can scan this QR code with their smartphone or their tablet. This will open they can also scan this QR code with their headset as well. This will open the object on their device where they can see it as a digital overlay on their physical environment using the device's camera. From there, they can position the object, scale it, and walk around it. Now, if your guests join the Collaborate session from a MetaQuest headset or from their phone or tablet, they would be able to just open the AR hotspot and have that true AR experience without having to scan any QR code. So it's much more convenient if you're joining from one of those devices. Now I'm just going to return to my scene here. Now I'm going to activate our navigation hotspots now. So let's move over to view 3. So if you join the session, you'll notice that you've moved scenes with me and we're now viewing the space from a new location. From here, if I open up the floor plan, we can actually identify where we are in the space based on those location markers that were added through Yulio Jump. So when you use Yulio Jump and you select to add your floor plan during the rendering process, Yulio Jump will place these location markers for you, and each location marker represents each of your scenes. So this is just another way to enhance that navigation experience for your clients when they're viewing your project. So as you can see, where we're standing now or the scene we're in now is highlighted blue, and I can navigate actually just using these markers. So I'll move over here on the floor plan. This is our fourth view or fourth scene. And now we're standing kind of at the back of the room, and we can explore the space from this perspective. So, as the host of the Collaborate session, while in present mode, you can actually give one of your guests the opportunity to take the lead on the session and give them host privileges. So, to do this, you would just click on their name. So, I'll click on their name here. And from here, that guest can look around the scene, and they can begin activating all hotspots from their end. So, they can move to new scenes, they can activate hotspots, open the floor plan, and so on. When I'm ready to take present mode, I would just go ahead and click on my name again, and I can lead the session again. So that wraps up our Collaborate session and our Getting Started with Yulio webinar. So I'm just going to exit that session now, and I'll return to my slides here. So I know that was maybe a lot of information to take in a short amount of time. But I hope that you were able to learn more about your Yulio account and how easy it is to start creating and sharing your VR projects. Thank you all for joining me today. If you have any questions, you can submit them in the question box, and I'll stick around for the next couple of minutes to answer those. As a reminder, if you want to book an additional training session with me, my email is up on the screen, so please feel free to reach out and I'll gladly work with you, to set up a time for us to meet. Of course, you can also email me anytime if you have questions that pop up later. I also included our webinar schedule on the screen as well. So you can, if you want to join our Beyond the Basics webinar, which I said is coming up in a couple of weeks, you can do that and you can see, you can register in advance. You can also see some of our other webinars that we have coming up as well. So that link is try.yulio.com/webinars. All right. Thank you again for joining me. Like I said, I'll stick around for a couple of minutes to answer any questions that might have popped up. But other than that, have a great rest of your day.